Who would have thought that my wife would take advantage of my moment of weakness to cheat on me with someone else? When I suggested we both take a break from the hustle and bustle of the city in the countryside at her mother's house, I thought it would be a time of recovery and quiet relaxation. But that weekend was the breaking point, shattering my hopes and trust, and leaving me alone with pain and betrayal. When I decided that Angela and I needed a little break from the hustle and bustle of the city, I couldn't have imagined the consequences. Her smile when I suggested spending a weekend in the countryside at her mother's house had given me hope for a peaceful vacation and recuperation. But that trip changed everything, leaving me at a crossroads between heartbreak and a new reality. In my mother-in-law's quiet, cozy home, among green fields and birdsong, I faced the most painful truth of my life. Angela and I hit the road Saturday morning. The drive was long but scenic, and we talked about everything in the world, savoring the moment. When we finally arrived, my mother-in-law welcomed us with open arms. Her cozy cottage, surrounded by green fields and flowering gardens, looked like a piece of paradise. We spent the evening at a family dinner, talking and laughing. Angela looked happy and relaxed, which pleased me. The next day, Angela decided to take a walk around the village and visit old acquaintances. I stayed at home, helping my mother-in-law with her chores and enjoying the silence. A few hours passed when I decided to go for a walk to find Angela and spend time together. As I walked through the village streets, I met a few locals who greeted me warmly. I learned that there was a field not far from my mother-in-law's house where the locals often came to work and harvest. Deciding that Angela might have gone there, I headed toward the field. When I got to the field, I saw her. She was working next to a man I didn't know. He was tall, stout, and smiling at her. As I got closer, Angela spotted me and waved. "Hi Vlad, meet Ivan," she said as I got closer. "He works as a tractor driver at the local farm." We shook hands and Ivan gave me a friendly smile. He told me that he grew up in this village and has worked on the farm all his life. We got to talking, and he offered to show us around on his tractor. I thought that was a great idea and agreed. We spent several hours riding the tractor through fields and forests. Ivan told us about his life, his farm work, and how the village had changed in recent years. Angela seemed fascinated by his stories, and I was glad she was enjoying our little adventure. When we got home, my mother-in-law had already prepared dinner. We sat down at the table, and Ivan joined us. The evening passed in a warm and friendly atmosphere. After dinner, Ivan said goodbye to us and left, leaving Angela and me in a good mood. The next day, I suggested that Angela come back to the field and help with the work. She agreed, and we set off. When we arrived, the field was deserted, and we decided to get to work. We enjoyed nature and each other, talking about our plans and dreams. The day was incredibly hot. The sun was scorching mercilessly, and soon I felt ill. I had trouble breathing, felt dizzy, and realized I had sunstroke. Angela noticed something was wrong and tried to help me to the shade. I could barely stand on my feet, so she called Ivan to help me. Ivan quickly brought a tractor, and the two of them helped me into the shade. I could feel the sweat trickling down my forehead and back, leaving dark stains on my clothes. The sun was burning mercilessly, and every breath was hard to take. Angela was carefully fanning me with her straw hat and fetching water from a flask, trying to ease my condition. The cold water was like a balm, but the heat and weakness still persisted. I felt I should rest, so I asked them to continue the work without me. While I lay under a tree, trying to find some shade to escape the scorching sun, Angela and Ivan continued their work in the field. I could hear their voices, laughter, and the sounds of their work. Gradually, to the monotonous whirring of the tractor engine and the singing of cicadas, I closed my eyes, hoping that rest would help me regain my strength. A few minutes, or perhaps hours, had passed when I heard the tractor engine start up. I thought they were back at work. But then everything went quiet and there was silence. It seemed strange to me, but I was too weak to get up and see what was going on. When I finally came to my senses, the sun was already setting. Angela and Ivan were nowhere to be seen. When I got to my feet, I felt a little dizzy, but my determination to find out what had happened gave me strength. I walked slowly toward my mother-in-law's house, passing a field. The tractor stood at the edge of the field, motionless, like a silent witness to recent events. I noticed the wheel tracks heading toward the woods, and it made me uneasy. When I returned home, my mother-in-law met me on the doorstep. Her face was concerned. "Vlad, are you all right?" she asked, seeing my pale face. "I'm fine," I answered, trying to look calm. "Is Angela back yet?" "No, I haven't seen her," my mother-in-law said. "She left with Ivan and never came back." My heart squeezed with anxiety, but I decided not to panic. Perhaps they were just delayed in the field. I went into the house and lay down on the couch, trying to calm down. but the thought of what might have happened kept me awake. In the evening, when the sun was already below the horizon, the door opened quietly and Angela came into the room. She looked tired but content. Her face was illuminated by the faint light of the lamp, and I could see traces of dust and sweat on it. "Hi," she said, smiling. "How are you feeling?" "Better," I answered, trying not to show my concern. "Where have you been?" Angela looked at me, and her smile became uncertain. She was slow to answer, and I sensed that something was wrong. "Ivan and I were a little late," she finally said. "Helping out on the field." Her words sounded plausible, but in the back of my mind I sensed that she wasn't telling me the truth. I decided not to press her and give her time. We spent the evening together, talking and eating dinner. But doubts and distrust were already brewing in my soul. The next day, when I had recovered a bit, I decided to talk to Angela about what had happened on the field. I asked her where they had been while I was gone and why the tractor was idling. Angela was embarrassed and lowered her eyes. She was slow to answer, and I sensed something was wrong. "Vlad, I have something to tell you," she finally said. "Yesterday, when you got sick, Ivan and we slept together." My heart squeezed with pain. I couldn't believe my ears. Angela kept talking, explaining how it had happened, but I wasn't listening anymore. There was only one thought pounding in my head. My wife had cheated on me. Without saying a word, I got up and went to gather my things. Angela tried to stop me, explaining herself and apologizing, but I was adamant. I felt I couldn't stay here any longer. After packing my things, I said goodbye to my mother-in-law, who didn't understand anything, and left. I left Angela in the village, not knowing what would happen next. When I returned home, I felt devastated and depressed. My heart was broken, and I didn't know how to move on. A few weeks went by. I filed for divorce and hired the best attorneys to assert my rights. The legal process was complicated and emotionally draining, but in the end, I was able to sue Angela for all of our assets. I felt it was a fair outcome after her betrayal. Angela tried to contact me, explaining herself and apologizing, but I was adamant. My heart was too broken to give her a second chance. I moved to another city to start a new life and never met her again. I want to apologize right away for any errors in the text or dubbing. I am just learning, and the language of this channel is not my native language. The dubbing is done with the help of artificial intelligence. Please point out errors so I can fix them and improve the quality of the content. Also, I will be glad if you share your thoughts on the topic. Your support in the comments is very motivating for me to keep looking for new, interesting stories. Thank you for your understanding and participation. Subscribe to the channel and put a bell to not miss new stories.